Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine and are taking care of yourselves. My name is Kanika Tandon and I'm here with the video of class 7th English 2nd. In our last video we have completed half the explanation of chapter number 8, Go Kiss the World, and in today's video we are going to complete the explanation part of the chapter with a little summary of whatever has happened in the previous part of the chapter. Okay, so this chapter number 8, Go Kiss the World, is actually an autobiographical narrative of the writer itself, how he has actually spent his childhood and have learned very different mantras of getting successful. So this story is about a little child who is the youngest of a person, of parents of himself. His father, who was a government employee in Odisha, and his mother, who was a Bengali immigrant from Bangladesh. Whenever they have parted, so wherever the father of this child has transferred, he has learned something from that particular places. So now let us read how different their life got when they actually went to some place else, where his brother, the eldest of the brother, who got a job, and his mother went there with him to take care of that child of hers. After reading her the newspaper every day, I would land up near the local university's water tank, which served the community. I would spend hours under it, imagining that there could be spies who would come here to poison the water, and I had to watch for them. I would daydream about catching one and how the next day I would be featured in the newspaper. The act unlocked my imagination. Imagination is everything. If we can imagine a future, we can create it. If we can create the future, others will live in it. This is the essence of success. Okay, so this just in the last paragraph that we read was that he used to, since his mother was a Bengali, she could not read anything in Oriya, and since they used to learn it at school, he was the person who was able to read the newspaper to her. So when she was reading, after reading the newspaper, he used to go to the tank, and actually with his imagination, that kiddish imagination that we all do, he actually understands, imagine that he has caught a person who has tried to poison the whole tank of water that used to supply water to the whole city. And with this, one new mantra of success according to him was that if you can imagine something, you can complete it, and if you can imagine a future for you, you can create it. Over the next few years, my mother's eyesight dimmed, but in me she created a larger vision with which I continue to see the world. As the next few years unfolded, her vision deteriorated and she was operated for cataract. Now what happens? Because of her cataract, she could not see properly, and as the time passed, she could not her eyesight went weaker and weaker. Her vision became clear after the operation, but within weeks of getting her sight back, she developed a corneal ulcer and overnight became blind in both eyes. That was 1969, and she died in 2002. So look at this, for how long she had spent her life being a blind person. And even though she had lived with blindness for 32 years, she never complained about her fate even once. Curious to know what she saw with blind eyes, I asked her once if she sees darkness. She replied, "No, I don't see darkness. I only see light, even with my eyes closed." Until she was 80 years of age, she did her morning yoga every day, swept her own room, and washed her own clothes. To me, success is all about the sense of independence. It is about not seeing the darkness, but seeing the light. So this was a new mantra that was actually added to his list of mantras of success. Over the many intervening years, um, I grew up, studies, joined the industry, and began to carve my own life's journey. I began my life as a clerk in a government office, went on to become a management trainee, and found my life's calling with the IT industry when the fourth generation computers came to India in 1981. I'm not explaining you this because it is actually written in very simple English, and I am hoping that you can actually understand it while I'm reading it. Life took me places. I worked with outstanding people, completed challenging assignments, and traveled all over the world. In 1992, while I was posted in US, I learned that my father, who was living a retired life with my eldest brother, had suffered a third degree burn injury and had been admitted to a hospital in Delhi. Okay, so a person who never went to an English medium school, who actually studied, who was actually homeschooled, and who actually studied in an Oriya medium school, was actually excited to carve his life. So he studied and studied properly, and then he started working, and at a point of time he was actually working in US with the IT sector, that means the computer sector. Okay, so see, he must have been brilliant while he was studying, right? Okay, so now when he was in US, he actually he was actually informed that his father had suffered from a burn injury. Now see what happens. I flew back to attend him. He remained for a few days in critical stage, bandaged from neck to toe. The hospital was a cockroach infested, dirty, inhuman place. One morning, while attending to my father, I realized that the blood bottle was empty, and fearing that air would go into his veins, I asked the nurse to change it. She bluntly told me to do it for myself. Okay. In that horrible theater of death, I felt frustration and anger. So that was very obvious. Anyone would have felt very much frustrated while if a doctor, if a nurse says that okay, you change the bottle for your father for yourself. Finally, when she relented and came, my father opened his eyes and murmured to her, "Why have you not gone home yet?" I was stunned at his stoic self. There I learned that there is no limit to how concerned you can be for another human being. My father died the next day. He was a man whose success was defined by his principles and his sense of inclusion. Above all, he taught me that success is your ability to rise above your discomfort, whether your current state. Okay, so as his father died the next day when that nurse denied to change the bottle, he understood that even if he was dying, he was worried about his own son, that why haven't he gone to his home. So this was the next mantra of his success, that whatsoever your discomfort is, if you can help the other person, you should be helping him, you should be thinking about him also. My father was a fervent, okay, he used to have very strong believer in the British Raj. Okay, so he was a person, that his father was a person who believed very much into British Raj, which is actually good because British Raj had actually started the development in our country. He sincerely doubted the capability of the post-independence Indian political parties to govern the country, which is very sure. My mother was exact the opposite. When Subhash Chandra Bose quit the INC and came to Dhaka, my mother, then a schoolgirl, garlanded him. She learned to spin khadi and joined an undergo movement that trained her in using daggers and swords. Consequently, our households saw diversity in the political outlook of the two. One major issue concerning the world, the old man and the old lady had different opinion. In them, we learned the power of disagreement, of dialogues, and a sense of living with the diversity in the thinking. All right. So, In our own houses also, our mother and father won't it's not necessary that both of your mother and your father is agreeing on one simple thing, right? They might be having some disagreement. So with this, they learned when his mother and father was actually disagreeing on the point that whether British Raj was good, or whether this political parties are good. So he understood that it is possible to live with disagreements. It is possible for everybody to be a husband and a wife, or a wife to a person, and then disagree on him, which is also a mantra of success. And you will notice is when you will grow old, that it is okay if you are disagreeing on something. It is not necessary to believe what you don't. So we can also that so this he understood that there might be some diversity in thinking. What is the meaning of diversity? Various what do we call it? Diversity in thinking means that we can have different opinions, different points, whether on a same topic, if we are two different or three different person. 2 years ago, at the age of 82, my mother had a paralytic stroke and was in the government hospital in Bhubaneswar. I flew down from US to visit her. I spent 2 weeks with her in the hospital. She was neither getting better nor moving on. Okay, so 2 years ago, her mother also was there in the hospital in Bhubaneswar, and she was there for 2 weeks, but she did not recover. Eventually, I had to return to work. As I was leaving, I kissed her face. In that paralytic state, in a garbled voice, she said, "Why are you kissing me? Go kiss the world." This woman, who came to India as a refugee, was no more educated than high school, was married to an anonymous government servant whose last salary was rupees 3,300, was robbed for her eyesight by fate, and was telling me to go and kiss the world. Success to me is about vision. It is ability to rise above pain. It is about imagination. It is about sensitivity to small people. It is about connectedness to a larger world. It is about giving back more to life than you take off out of it. It is about creating extraordinary success with extraordinary lives. Thank you very much. I wish you good luck and Godspeed. Okay, so this was a very good chapter, and I liked it teaching you, and I hope that you have liked it, read it, or understanding it. So with this, the explanation part of the chapter is over, and in my next video I'm going to give the exercise and the question answers both at the same time in the next video only. So before I conclude my video, I hope that you all complete the word meanings in your notebooks, and then next week you can complete the question answers as well as the exercises. I'll see you all in my next video. Till then, take care and thank you.